We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you some breaking news. There's been reports all over the area of something crazy going on, something big. People's homes, their minds even, are being taken over by something called, what is it they're calling it? They're calling it Bad Movie Debate.
What up, nerds? It's me, Jacob Babb from Bad Movie Debate, here to do another review episode. I know I said this the last 2 reviews, I think, maybe even the last 3 review episodes I did, but this is actually definitively, I mean, it is only April, but definitively, as of right now, this is the best movie that's been out this year. This movie is incredible. Sinners, it absolutely blows the other 2 that I said this about out of the water. No offense to them. I love those movies. They're great. Sinners, Ryan Coogler, I mean, what a just absolute beautiful piece of filmmaking. And that goes to mostly to him, first and foremost. Ludwig with the scoring. I've been listening to a lot of the score over the past few days since I've seen it, and literally some of the music is making me want to just cry because it's so good and perfect for the movie, and it's making me remember certain scenes of the movie and everything. Obviously, give it up for Michael B. Jordan and Michael B. Jordan. He played 2 twin brothers flawlessly. Haley Steinfeld was incredible. All the acting, top to bottom. What's his name? Miles Caton. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but Miles never acted before. Insane. He's like the crux of the story. Like he is the through line from beginning to end, mid-credit scene and post-credit scene. There are going to be spoilers in this review. Duh. So if you haven't seen it, I recommend seeing it, then coming back to listen to this. But for you all that have seen this movie, we got a lot to talk about. So I think right off the bat, the most important thing that we need to talk about and discuss is how tight this script is. There are very, very few plot holes in this movie. I've only seen it once, so, maybe there are some that I'm missing. But I've been kind of describing it to people as pretty close to making a perfect script, like in the sense that Chinatown, the Roman Polanski, Jack Nicholson movie from back in the day, which you got to see that movie. That's, a masterpiece. And, notwithstanding Roman Polanski's crimes, but the movie's good. Sorry, it just is. That movie is considered the best script, or one of the best scripts that's ever been written, because every single moment in that movie is directly related to furthering the plot and building up characters and giving, just pushing the story forward smoothly, easily, and like no time is wasted. And I feel like this is a very similar type of movie. I can't think of a single moment that was a waste of time in any single way. An example of that, let's just do, the main thing that kind of like could have just been a random thing, but like eventually leads to this, to that, to this, to that, to this, to that. Stack wants to open the juke joint early. He wants to do it that night. And Smoke is like, we should wait. And he's like, no, we got to do it now so we can get people in early and start building up our repertoire, start earning money like sooner rather than later. And it's like, okay, so Smoke's like, okay, fine. We'll get it done today so we can open tonight. Cut to, a man comes up to get a drink, and he's a little bit short in change, but he has these little like pennies, that the like plantation pennies. I'm not sure if that's the term, but that's what I'm going to call it for the time being. And he gives that to Annie to pay, and Stack and Annie are like, yeah, that's totally fine. And then Smoke calls them out and is like, we need to talk about this. I thought we opened early so we could make money. Those like little plantation pennies that are good at the market don't mean anything for us. And they have a discussion about like, well, we want to get these people to come back, and spend the money that they do have. So we need to like give them a leg up, or like let it slide and let people do that just so they can be here and have a good time, because the more they have a good time tonight on our opening night, the more they're going to come back, right? So he's like, okay, whatever, that's fine. Later, we have a conversation where they're doing the till, Smoke and Stack. They're kind of doing like a midnight, not midnight, but like mid during the night kind of thing, where they're like trying to see how much they're getting, and they're realizing they're not making as much money as they need to be. Probably because of letting stuff like that slide and stuff, but they need to be making money ASAP. So the white people show up, the vampires. Again, spoilers, or if I hadn't said that already, spoilers abound. The vampires show up and they're like, we have good money to spend. And they're like, I mean, obviously there's a lot of like race in this movie and like a lot of what it's about. And like, we'll get to that. But they're like, no, if you guys are here and somebody else who's white sees and stuff, and like something happens to one of y'all, we're all fucked. Like, we can't take the risk, even if you have money to spend. So they turn them away and they walk away for the time being. Then Mary, Haley Steinfeld, is talking to Stack because she is white facing in this movie. Her grandpa was black. So she is technically considered black. I saw somebody talking about it, a few people talking about it online. It was Ryan Coogler in an interview. The one drop of like black ancestry made you black in this time. Like, you had to be pure white or you were POC kind of a thing. So but she's white facing. She looks white, and so she married into a white family and stuff. But she grew up with them. She knows them, and like that's why she was able to come, and like it was okay. Her and Stack have a history and everything, and then he left. Blah blah blah. That's not irrelevant, but not super relevant to the point that I'm trying to make right now. So they're talking, and she's like, "Let me go suss them out and see if it's worth bringing them in, because if they have money to spend, like, I know y'all need to be making this money, and if they've got money and they're going to be cool about it and everybody's going to be fine, they should come in." And he's like, okay, you're right, we do need to make money, and he agrees to let her do that because of the decision he made earlier in the movie. Like, we have to do it now. We have to, like, we can get away with doing these, like, plantation penny things and stuff. So he made a couple of mistakes and is like, yeah, shit, we need to make money. So then that's what makes her go outside. And then she gets turned, and then she's inside, and then she turns him, and then all that shit starts popping off. That's just one thing. The other one that somebody pointed out, and I actually didn't notice it, but I saw somebody pointed out earlier, seems like a pretty innocuous, just kind of a joke line. When they go to pick up, Cornbread, he says, "Oh, well, you're gonna make so much money, maybe your wife will blow you," basically, is what he's implying. Cornbread goes to take a piss, and that's when he gets turned. And when he comes back, you can't see any obvious, like, marks on him, but that's why you have that incredible scene of, like, wait, why do you have to be inside, like, invited inside? You've been coming in and out all night and stuff. When Andy's like, because she's like the hoodoo person, she knows about all this kind of stuff. There's only one place that there's only, you know what, I think you guys can get where I'm going with that and stuff. Like, so, like, that random line, like, just seemed to be like a bit of a joke to get him to come. Like, it's foreshadowing. Like, everything in this movie is foreshadowing one way or another. There's millions of other examples that I'm forgetting. Those are just, that first one is one that I noticed immediately and was like, hell yeah, this is how we're moving the plot. Beautiful, great writing. And the second one was a funny thing that somebody pointed out that is actually a second example that's pretty solid. So that's hilarious. Hilarious, but also proves point. Like, this is a tight script. There are plot holes that I haven't noticed. I mean, I feel like I could justify about any plot hole anybody could throw at me because I was just completely reined in this entire movie. And I feel like there is an answer for everything, whether they're obvious or not. So, we'll see. We'll see if plot holes come abound. But as far as I'm saying right now, nah, there's none. In that regard. Damn, it just started raining really hard here. I digress. So, a quick fun little thing. When we went to go see this movie, Austin, Zach, Cassidy, and I, we went to go see this movie Monday night. The theater that we saw it in, for some reason, that specific theater, the AC wasn't working. So it was, like, really hot in there, like not unbearably hot, but it was like pretty toasty in the theater. So it was kind of nice because it was like a hot summer movie. Like the time and place was like a hot day in Mississippi in the 30s and stuff, and it was kind of immersive. So that probably added to why I loved the movie so much, because I could really feel like I was there. Not just because of how great Ryan Coogler, he specifically talked about in an interview with Last Podcast on the Left. Actually, if you're a member of their Patreon, you should definitely check that out. He talks about how knowing the place that you're filming a movie or like you're setting a movie and stuff is like gonna rope you in and like make you more immersed in the world regardless of where it is and what it is and stuff. And so he already did a great job doing that, which he does in all of his movies, but then also that was a fun little like 4D movie experience thing because their AC was broken apparently. But yeah, that was just a funny little thing that happened. But anyway, so the second thing, so script, absolutely perfect as far as I'm concerned. Can't think of a single plot hole, can't think of anything that is irrelevant one way or another. Even one-handed off kind of jokes and or lines that seem kind of random and stuff come to fruition. There's Slick, the old drunkard man. He says you got to go through me. Like everybody, they're all gonna have to go through me to get to y'all. He sacrifices himself at one point in the movie before anybody else can get got. That's a pretty obvious one, but it's like little things like that. Like they're abound. Some of them major, some of them minor, but they're all there and they're all relevant and they all push the story forward. Two, for me, Ludwig. He's already won 2 Oscars. He's already done such incredible work. This score is insanely good. It's insanely good. It is pure blues and stuff. Like, it's just classic Delta blues. Like Robert Johnson, obviously that's a big part of the narrative and everything. The man who sold his soul to play guitar very well and become a successful musician. Spoiler for the movie, that's kind of what happens in this movie. If you saw the post-credit scene, not the mid-credit scene, but the post-credit scene, that's literally what this movie is, which is incredible. But we'll get there. I'm sorry, I digress. The music, the score, everything, Smokestack Brothers, I think that's the title of the track. That song, I've been listening to it on repeat for the past few days, and it almost makes me cry every time I hear it just because of how beautiful it is. The passion you can feel in that just one piece, and that's just one part of it. Obviously, a big narrative in the story is, and like a big point of the story is Preacher Boy Sammy, his dad being like this is the time period where the devil's music, like, oh, that's the devil's music, that's where this is where it comes from, is like the South, and especially in the black community and stuff. Like, you had like preachers and stuff, but then black people were making and writing like blues, and like blues was starting to form. You had Robert Johnson, he sold his soul to the devil. All of that is very necessary and intrinsic to this movie and everything. And it's almost like Ryan Coogler wanted to make a blues movie and then landed on vampires because of ABC XYZ. He does talk about that in a few interviews, a little more detail. I'm not going to speak for him how we got there, but that is music is very important. So him and Ludwig sat down and did like their due diligence times a million to make sure that they got all of that as crispy and clean and good as they needed to, and I think they did a perfect job. So for my friends who went and saw the movie last night, you know who you are. I said, if you guys can find out the 2 scenes that made me cry in this movie, one was obvious, one was not. The obvious one was when at one point Annie says, if they bite me, you need to stake me through the heart. I don't want to turn at any point. She says that to Smoke, and Smoke does end up having to do that. And that made me cry. It was like, yeah, it was one of those like, it's probably going to happen and that sucks. But it was a beautiful moment and it was good. And I was still sad when it happened. Another sign of it being a good movie. The second scene, the less obvious one, the scene when Sammy starts to play I Lied to You, the song he wrote for his dad. And he reaches out to the past and the present ancestors, the descendants, and we get like electric guitar in there, and it's a single shot panning around to everyone dancing, and then all of a sudden you've got some African dancing, like traditional African dancing going on, and then you move around, and then there's a DJ, and like now there's like a beat going on with the guitar and everything. You got the people like twerking and stuff, and like everything going around, and then it pans up to the roof where it's starting to be on fire, and then it pans back down, and the whole building is gone, but they're all still dancing. And then we land on the vampires. I just got chills thinking about it. And then you land on the vampires outside, looking at the building, and Remick is just so ready to go in there and get Sammy to be a part of his hive mind. That scene made me cry because it is such good, beautiful storytelling, especially when you go back to the intro with the narration from Annie about how music brings community together, and there's like a magic to it, and you can reach out to ancestors and they can be there and everything, but it can also invite the devil. It was just such a beautiful visual, like, music video, honestly, because that song is incredible. I've been listening to that one a lot too, from the soundtrack, and yeah, just the way they like that's talked about at the beginning, and then we actually get to see a moment like that where it becomes this like magical realism kind of a moment, and then like that's what brings the three vampire Remick and the two that he had turned at the beginning into to come to the juke joint to do what they do. That one of the most beautiful scenes I've seen in a very long time in a movie. A scene that wasn't necessarily supposed to be sad hasn't made me cry in a very long time in a movie. I cry a lot during movies. It's just who I am. I love movies, obviously, very much. So it's easy for me to just cry during when there's sad parts. But it's just such a good fucking moment. It's just so good that I can't help but tear up when I saw it, and again, I just got chills describing it again. So obviously the music had to be incredible, right? The music was like the second most important thing after the story, and I think it absolutely did it. No piece of scoring is off or feels weird. All of the music is amazing. I was telling Austin my biggest worry about the movie was I was kind of worried because I had seen that Haley Steinfeld had a song that was released on like a companion album for the movie. I thought at the time that was a part of the actual soundtrack that was going to be in the movie, and I hate anachronisms in movies when it's it's like a period piece and you have like a modern song in there. That always really takes me out. That's not what happens. All the music is there except for this one scene, but again, it's magical realism and it works, and it's okay in this moment because it's reaching to the past and the present to be in this moment, to bring these people together in this community and with this music. So that's fine. That's like an exception to the rule that I put on movies and like how I feel about them. Like I was worried that the Haley Steinfeld song was going to play like at some random part in the movie and I was going to be ripped right out of the scene and out of the entire movie. But no, they just released a companion album, which is crazy and they don't ever do. People never do that anymore. So that was awesome that they did that for this movie. But then also, so we have a lot of really great blues music, right? But there's also some really great Irish folk music in this movie as well. Will You Go, Lassie Go is that Remick and the vampires are singing. I believe it's the moment when Haley Steinfeld, Mary is coming out to like check on them to be like, it's like suss them out and stuff. That beautiful, the little Irish jig that they do while everybody's freaking out inside, and like he's singing that song. I can't remember the name of the song. Oh god, it's frustrating. The song that they're singing when they first went about like picking someone apart and like eating them and stuff. Like not only is it performed very well, and it's like, oh yeah, they're talking about eating someone and they're vampires, but also it's kind of what they're there to do. They're there to pick apart the community and like take what they want from it and everything like that. It's absolutely incredible. The music, top to bottom, left or right, whatever, is just absolutely incredible. Going back to the writing a little bit, the third thing, no character in this entire movie felt irrelevant in any way. Every single person that speaks is important. And I was talking to Austin last night about it, and I was like, who do you think the most, like, unnecessary or, like, random people are? And she was like, the two guys who Smoke shoots because he's stealing from the thing. Like, and I was like, yes, that's a good answer. Like, they seem to be the most irrelevant, right? But they're not, because they're there to show that as soon as they realized who it was, they were fucking scared. They were fucking scared. They were like, oh shit, you're back. I didn't know it was yours. I thought she was lying when she said it was yours. Blah, blah, blah. Again, small little thing, but every character who speaks is important in one way or another, including the Chinese couple's daughter, who barely speaks. She's super important later in the movie because they use the daughter to threaten her, and she eventually lets them inside, and then everything starts to pop off in this great way. The girl that he hires to look after the truck and stuff, he teaches her negotiation tactics. Like, he doesn't just say, like, hey, do this for this, like, and stuff. He's like, no, I offered you 10 cents per minute. Like, you need to make me a counter offer. And she's like, 50. And he's like, well, that's too rich. That's too much. What about 20 best I can do? And she's like, okay. And he's like, see, and like, he teaches her how to, like, haggle for money to make her life better and everything. So, like, that's something he and his brother learned when they were off in Chicago doing their like mafia gangster type stuff. And it's just like every little moment is just so good. So every character is good. So that's just minor characters we're talking about with those two, right? What about the two, like, main characters? I feel like I know Smoke and Stack super, super well. They were in World War I. Smoke can't roll his own cigarettes because he has shell shock, as it was called, PTSD. He can't roll his own cigarettes. Stack is rolling a cigarette for him when we first see them and stuff, or he asks somebody for a cigarette. He does not ever, and when he tries to roll his own cigarette, his hands are too shaky. When he's, like, alone at the end before he pops off on all the KKK members. Like, he, like, you know what I mean? Like, he, like, literally can't do it. And so he asks, when he kind of jumped around the narrative here, but once he gets to the last KKK guy, he's like, do you have cigarettes? Give me a cigarette. Like, because he wants one, because he's dying and stuff. Because he got shot in the stomach and he's done for. It's just absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. And then, like, the guy who hired, the Grand Wizard of the KKK that gives them or sells them the old mill so they can make the juke joint and stuff. That whole scene with him. He comes up and it's like, yeah, this is just the guy who owns the land. He's just going to sell it to him. Like, whatever. Turns out he's a KKK member. And when they go in there and they're like, oh, what these floors, are they clean? Like, what? And he just kind of like, it's like, that's what he does. He sells it to black people, and then his KKK guys come and kill people and, like, kill POC people who they hired out. Like, they tricked them into doing that and stuff. And that's, again, no one's irrelevant. And how do we find that out? Because Remick has a hive mind thing, and the first two people that he turns to get on his side, they're not random. That's that's the Grand Wizard guy's nephew. So he knows that, and he's like, they're gonna come and kill you in the morning and stuff, which is why we get the scene where Smoke is there waiting for them, and he has his, like, military weapons so he can take them out, because he's like, fuck this. So they literally only had that one night that they could be free, and they all were, until the vampires showed up, because even if they didn't, Smoke and Stack would have gotten smoked the next morning, because they would have still been there. Probably would have stayed there. We're cleaning up the next day, whatever. Anybody who was there would have gotten smoked. So they had one last night of freedom, not just because of the vampires, but because of the world they live in. And that is evident from the beginning. There are moments in every single part of that building up to that. I want to talk about, now let's talk about, like, the vampire thing, like the vampire stuff. Great vampire lore. The entire thing with the you can't come in unless you're invited stuff. That was super good way to, like, put some suspense into this movie, because you, like, with the scene with Cornbread, like, you didn't know if he was or wasn't, kind of a thing. Like, that was awesome. I thought that was very well done and really cool. One thing I don't see a lot of people talking about, people have been talking about how Ryan Coogler specifically used inspired by Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, the villain who is deaf and his red eyes. So he gives Remick like those red kind of eyes. Nobody's really talking about it. I haven't seen a lot where people talk about all the other vampires' eyes are like blue or like white. Remick's are red. So it's like, again, it's a subtle thing. It's not really that important at the end of the day, but it's a nice little detail where his are red because he's the one that's in charge. He is the big bad evil guy, to put it in D&D terms, of this vampire hive mind and everything. So he is in charge of the hive mind, and so he is getting everybody to do what he wants them to do. That's why they can all sing and dance to the Irish jig that he does and everything. Love that. And then I just love the way that he dates himself when he's going to get Sammy and stuff and everything, as being like 1200 or 1300 years old, because he starts saying, Sammy starts saying the Lord's Prayer, and then Remick and all the other vampires join in. He's like, oh, I know that one. Like, I know that one. That's a good one, kind of a thing, which we'll talk more about in a second, and the importance of that. Because he says those people, he's like, they came in and took my killed me, or like took my community away and put that like Christianity and that religion on me too. And like, it does bring me comfort at times, but they used it to oppress me just like they used it to oppress you and your people. He's trying to like relate to him, because there's this whole history. I'm not an expert in it and stuff, but there's a whole history of like Irish people being treated pretty bad. Obviously not anything in comparison. But there's this whole thing about seeing people talk about the Irish black and stuff. Whole different thing. You guys can look into that. It's pretty fascinating. But there is like a commonality and like a community. There was like back in the day, like between the Irish and like black people around, because they were having similar type of like, you can't be in here. Like there would be signs that say like no black people, no Irish people. Like they were also segregated to an extent and everything, and they kind of helped each other. So for him to be Irish, and be having a way to like is a great move in terms of writing, to like get them to be able to relate to him and understand his point of view. Kind of. I think the last thing I really want to hit is the use of religion. So obviously Preacher Boy, his dad's the preacher, and he's saying, don't play that devil's music, like the devil's gonna come get you and stuff, and all of that jazz and everything. And he goes, but cutting back to that scene with Remick, and he says the Lord's Prayer and stuff. Like I saw a lot of people talking about how people in the theaters, when he started reciting the Lord's Prayer, people were like clapping and like, yeah, all right, like this is what's gonna do it, because that always works, and stuff. And then when he starts saying it, and then all the Remick and all the other vampires start saying it, people were like freaking out. They're like, oh shit, because like that didn't work, kind of a thing, which I think is a really awesome way to kind of like flip that piece of vampire lore. Like usually it was like Christianity can't defeat vampires, basically. You have the cross, the holy water, and all that stuff. And while that stuff does work to an extent in this movie, it's mostly garlic and silver that is used to, and then fire and stakes and like stuff like that. It's like the non-religious things that actually end up working the best to save people in this movie. So him twisting, Ryan Coogler making the decision to have Christianity and like religion not work is pretty awesome, and especially for the time period that this movie takes place. And for Remick to be like, there's another thing that we can relate to, and why you should, join us and stuff. And, and again, but also at the same time, he's doing exactly what everyone else had been doing. He wants Sammy's stories and his music for his own, to use to his own nefarious ends, because, but he tries to be like, yeah, like, it's one of those like, well, yeah, they're doing that, and I want to do that, but I want to do it for better reasons, kind of a thing. Like, it's one of those things. It's like, no, it's just another person trying to take from the Black community and use those stories and music and talents for their own, obviously, especially in this case, vampiric, like evil things, evil point of view and like plots and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. I just think this is an incredible movie. The post-credit scene, the mid-credit scene, I think most people saw. The post-credit scene, if you didn't see, we'll talk about that real quick. At the very end, it's just Sammy playing his guitar, no cut, in his father's church. And he gets done playing and he looks up and to the left and kind of looks a little worried and stuff. I believe that's the moment when the devil actually did, the actual devil, not Remick, the actual devil came up and made him a deal. And that's why he doesn't let go of he's like kind of distant from his dad's preacher stuff from the get-go. And he goes and leaves and lives a long, successful life as a musician, you know, and then we see him in the 90s and stuff. And then Stack and Mary show up because they were able to escape and everything. And then that's the true trigger for this movie is he was practicing in the church one day. The devil heard his music and came up. And then it also attracted a different kind of more nefarious evil in Remick and the whole vampire stuff. So again, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. I can't stop thinking about this movie, and I don't have any reason to give it anything less, not even a 4.9 out of 9.9. 10 out of 10, 100%. 2 thumbs up. If I had more thumbs, I would give it as many as I could. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening. Follow on all social media, TikTok, Instagram, to get updated about more things as they come up. Thanks for listening.